The Wealth Prophets, Programming Future Abundance Through Timeline Mastery. Let me ask you something that will revolutionize your understanding of how abundance can be created across time itself. What if I told you that beyond transmuting energy into matter or elevating consciousness, there's an even more powerful mastery, the ability to become a wealth prophet who programs future abundance by systematically designing and controlling timeline trajectories to guarantee inevitable prosperity across unlimited time periods? What if I told you that the most advanced wealth creators in history weren't just building current abundance or ecosystem infrastructure, but were actually programming future timelines themselves, systematically designing probability matrices and timeline trajectories that would generate inevitable abundance across unlimited future scenarios and time periods? Tonight, you're going to discover what I call the Wealth Prophets methodology, the systematic programming of future abundance through timeline mastery, probability control, and temporal abundance architecture that guarantees inevitable prosperity by designing the future itself, rather than just operating within current reality constraints. But first, let me take you inside the moment when one extraordinary individual discovered how to program future timelines to guarantee inevitable abundance: the Amazon Strategic Planning Timeline Laboratory. It was December 1994, and Jeff Bezos was standing in his garage, not just planning a business, but systematically programming future timeline trajectories that would guarantee inevitable abundance across unlimited future scenarios. At 30, Bezos wasn't just building an online bookstore, he was accessing what Napoleon Hill would later identify as wealth prophet consciousness, the systematic programming of future abundance through timeline control and probability mastery. While other entrepreneurs planned for immediate profits or near-term success, Bezos was discovering what Hill called temporal abundance programming, the understanding that ultimate wealth mastery involves programming future timelines themselves to guarantee inevitable prosperity across unlimited time periods and scenario variations. In that garage, Bezos experienced what he privately called future timeline programming recognitions, the moment when he realized that wealth could be created not just by operating in current reality, but by systematically programming future probability matrices and timeline trajectories to ensure inevitable abundance regardless of changing circumstances. From that garage, Bezos wasn't just launching a business, he was demonstrating temporal abundance programming that would systematically control future timelines to generate inevitable prosperity across decades, proving that wealth creation could transcend current limitations through future timeline mastery. He had discovered what Hill called the Wealth Prophets method, programming future abundance through timeline control, the science of temporal abundance programming. Through studying timeline programming masters, Hill discovered that future abundance creation operates according to principles that transcend current reality wealth building. Principle 1. Future timeline programming versus current reality building. While conventional wealth creation operates within current reality constraints, wealth prophets program future timelines to guarantee inevitable abundance across unlimited time periods. Principle 2. Probability matrix control versus market prediction. Rather than predicting market movements, wealth prophets control probability matrices and timeline trajectories to ensure favorable abundance outcomes regardless of external changes. Principle 3. Temporal abundance architecture versus present moment success. Instead of optimizing for immediate results, wealth prophets design temporal abundance architecture that generates increasing prosperity across unlimited future scenarios. Principle 4. Timeline trajectory mastery versus linear planning. Wealth prophets master multiple timeline trajectories and probability branches rather than following single linear planning approaches. Principle 5. Inevitable abundance creation versus uncertain outcomes. Rather than accepting uncertain wealth outcomes, wealth prophets program timeline trajectories that make abundance inevitable across unlimited future variations. The 5 stages of wealth prophet development. Hill identified 5 progressive stages that lead to temporal abundance programming mastery. Stage 1. Future timeline recognition, understanding temporal abundance possibilities. Stage 2. Probability matrix access, developing timeline trajectory awareness. Stage 3. Temporal programming mastery, creating future abundance architecture. Stage 4. Timeline control achievement, directing future prosperity outcomes. Stage 5. Wealth profit integration, programming inevitable abundance across unlimited time. Each stage builds towards systematic ability to program future timelines for guaranteed abundance across unlimited time periods. Stage 1, future timeline recognition. Understanding temporal abundance possibilities. The first stage involves recognizing that multiple future timelines exist as probability matrices that can be systematically programmed and controlled to create inevitable abundance across unlimited time periods and scenario variations. Walt Disney, the future timeline recognition master. Disney's systematic creation of entertainment properties and theme park concepts designed to generate increasing abundance across unlimited future generations demonstrates perfect future timeline recognition and temporal abundance programming. Disney's future timeline recognition system, multi-generational timeline awareness. Disney learned to recognize and design for abundance creation across unlimited future time periods and generational changes. Generational wealth programming. Understanding how entertainment properties could be designed to generate increasing abundance across unlimited future generations without degradation. Cultural evolution integration. Recognizing how abundance creation systems could adapt and strengthen across cultural changes and technological evolution over unlimited time periods. Timeline trajectory identification. Developing systematic approaches for identifying timeline trajectories that would generate optimal abundance across multiple future scenario variations. Probability matrix understanding. Disney developed systematic understanding of probability matrices that govern future abundance creation across different timeline possibilities. Scenario branch recognition, learning to identify different probability branches and timeline scenarios that could affect future abundance generation. Cross-timeline optimization, developing systematic approaches for creating abundance systems that would succeed across multiple different future timeline variations. Probability control development, building understanding of how current decisions and system designs could influence probability matrices for future abundance outcomes. Temporal abundance architecture design. Disney created systematic approaches for designing abundance systems that would operate and strengthen across unlimited future time periods. Future-proof system creation, developing entertainment and business systems designed to generate increasing abundance regardless of technological or cultural changes. Timeline-independent value, creating abundance generation approaches that would remain valuable and profitable across unlimited different future scenario possibilities. Systematic future programming, building systematic approaches for programming future abundance outcomes through current system design and probability control. Your future timeline recognition training, multi-timeline awareness development. Practice recognizing that multiple future timeline possibilities exist that can be influenced and programmed for optimal abundance outcomes. Learn to identify different probability scenarios and timeline trajectories that could affect your future abundance creation. Develop systematic approaches for designing current activities that will generate increasing abundance across multiple future timeline possibilities. Temporal programming foundation. Build understanding of how current decisions and system designs influence future probability matrices and timeline trajectories. Practice creating abundance systems designed to operate and strengthen across unlimited future time periods and scenario variations. Learn to identify timeline trajectories that will generate optimal abundance across multiple different future possibility branches. Stage 2. Probability matrix access, developing timeline trajectory awareness. The second stage involves developing systematic access to probability matrices and timeline trajectories, learning to perceive and influence the probability structures that govern future abundance outcomes across different temporal scenarios. Ray Dalio, the probability matrix access virtuoso. Dalio's development of systematic approaches for analyzing probability matrices across unlimited economic scenarios and timeline trajectories to guarantee investment success demonstrates perfect probability matrix access and temporal awareness mastery. Dalio's probability matrix access framework, systematic probability analysis. Dalio develops comprehensive approaches for analyzing probability matrices that govern abundance outcomes across unlimited future scenarios. Historical pattern recognition, building systematic understanding of probability patterns that repeat across different time periods and economic cycle variations. Cross-scenario analysis, developing approaches for analyzing probability matrices across unlimited different future economic and market scenario possibilities. Probability weight optimization, creating systematic methods for determining optimal probability weights for different abundance outcomes across multiple timeline trajectories. Timeline trajectory mapping, Dalio achieved systematic approaches for mapping and understanding timeline trajectories that lead to different abundance outcomes. Economic cycle trajectory analysis, developing systematic understanding of timeline trajectories that govern economic cycles and market evolution across unlimited time periods. Cross-timeline correlation, building approaches for understanding how different timeline trajectories correlate and influence each other across multiple probability scenarios. Trajectory optimization systems, creating systematic methods for optimizing decisions across multiple timeline trajectories to maximize abundance outcomes. Probability control implementation, Dalio developed systematic approaches for influencing and controlling probability matrices to optimize abundance outcomes across different timeline scenarios. Portfolio probability engineering, building investment approaches that control probability matrices across unlimited market scenarios to guarantee positive abundance outcomes. Risk-adjusted timeline optimization, creating systematic approaches for optimizing abundance generation across multiple timeline trajectories while controlling downside probability scenarios. Systematic probability advantage, developing approaches that create systematic probability advantages across unlimited future scenario variations through proper matrix control. Modern probability matrix examples. Warren Buffett, systematic probability matrix analysis through value investing approaches that optimize abundance across unlimited economic timeline scenarios. Peter Thiel, probability trajectory analysis through monopoly business development that controls market probability matrices for inevitable abundance. Ray Kurzweil, future timeline trajectory analysis through technological development probability matrices and exponential growth understanding. Your probability matrix access development. Timeline trajectory analysis. Practice developing systematic approaches for analyzing probability matrices that govern abundance outcomes across unlimited future scenarios. Learn to identify and map timeline trajectories that lead to optimal abundance generation across different probability branches. Build systematic methods for understanding how different timeline trajectories correlate and influence abundance outcomes. Probability control training. Develop approaches for influencing and controlling probability matrices to optimize abundance outcomes across multiple timeline scenarios. Practice creating systematic probability advantages across unlimited future scenario variations through proper decision matrix control. Learn to optimize abundance generation approaches across multiple timeline trajectories while controlling negative probability outcomes. Stage 3, Temporal Programming Mastery, creating future abundance architecture. The third stage involves mastering temporal programming to create future abundance architecture, systematically designing timeline trajectories and probability matrices that generate inevitable prosperity across unlimited future scenarios. Elon Musk, the Temporal Programming Mastery Master. Musk's systematic development of companies and technologies designed to control and program future timeline trajectories, sustainable energy, space exploration, neural interfaces, demonstrates perfect temporal programming mastery for future abundance architecture. Musk's temporal programming mastery strategy. Future timeline architecture design. Musk developed systematic approaches for designing future timeline architectures that would generate inevitable abundance across unlimited scenario variations. Multi-industry timeline programming, creating business and technology developments that would control timeline trajectories across multiple industries simultaneously for compound abundance generation. Exponential trajectory engineering, building systematic approaches for engineering exponential timeline trajectories that would generate increasing abundance acceleration across unlimited future time periods. Cross-timeline synergy creation, developing approaches where different timeline programming efforts would reinforce and multiply each other for optimal abundance outcomes. Systematic future control. Musk achieved approaches for systematically controlling future outcomes through proper timeline trajectory programming and probability matrix design. Technology trajectory control, building technologies specifically designed to control and direct future timeline trajectories toward optimal abundance and human advancement outcomes. Market timeline programming, creating systematic approaches for programming future market timelines through innovation that makes alternative outcomes obsolete or less probable. Civilization timeline architecture, developing systematic approaches for programming civilization-level timeline trajectories that generate universal abundance and human advancement. Probability matrix engineering. Musk created systematic approaches for engineering probability matrices that favor inevitable abundance across unlimited future scenario variations. Innovation probability control, building innovation approaches that control probability matrices to make success inevitable across unlimited competitive and technological scenario variations. Market dominance programming. Creating systematic approaches for programming market dominance across future timeline trajectories through superior technology and execution. Future-proof abundance systems. Developing abundance generation approaches that would succeed across unlimited different future scenario possibilities through proper probability engineering. Your temporal programming development. Future architecture creation. Practice developing systematic approaches for designing future timeline architectures that generate inevitable abundance across unlimited scenario variations. Learn to create business and investment systems specifically designed to control timeline trajectories toward optimal abundance outcomes. Build systematic approaches for programming future abundance that would succeed across unlimited different scenario possibilities. Timeline control mastery. Develop approaches for systematically controlling future outcomes through proper timeline trajectory programming and probability matrix design. Practice creating innovations and systems that control probability matrices to make abundance inevitable across unlimited future variations. Learn to engineer probability matrices that favor your abundance generation across unlimited different timeline scenario possibilities. Stage 4, timeline control achievement, directing future prosperity outcomes. The fourth stage involves achieving systematic control over timeline trajectories and probability matrices to directly program and guarantee prosperity outcomes across unlimited future scenarios and time periods. Steve Jobs, the timeline control achievement master. Jobs' systematic development of technology platforms and ecosystem architectures designed to control future timeline trajectories and guarantee continued abundance generation demonstrates perfect timeline control achievement. Jobs' timeline control achievement framework. Ecosystem timeline programming. Jobs achieved systematic programming of timeline trajectories through ecosystem development that would control future abundance generation. Platform timeline control, creating technology platforms specifically designed to control future timeline trajectories by making alternative development paths obsolete or inferior. User experience timeline architecture, building systematic user experience approaches that would control customer timeline trajectories and guarantee continued ecosystem participation. Innovation timeline programming, developing systematic innovation approaches that would control technological timeline trajectories and maintain competitive advantage across unlimited future scenarios. Market timeline dominance. Jobs developed systematic approaches for achieving dominance over market timeline trajectories to guarantee inevitable abundance across future competitive scenarios. Category creation timeline control, building systematic approaches for creating new product categories that would control market timeline trajectories and establish permanent competitive advantages. Brand timeline programming, creating brand development approaches that would control customer perception timelines and guarantee continued preference across unlimited future scenarios. Ecosystem lock-in timeline architecture, developing systematic ecosystem approaches that would control customer timeline trajectories and make switching to alternatives increasingly difficult over time. Future abundance guarantee systems. Jobs achieved systematic approaches for guaranteeing future abundance through timeline control and probability matrix programming. Revenue timeline architecture, creating business model approaches that would generate increasing revenue across unlimited future timeline variations through ecosystem expansion. Innovation pipeline timeline control, building systematic innovation pipeline approaches that would control future product timeline trajectories and maintain market leadership indefinitely. Cultural timeline programming, developing systematic approaches for programming cultural timeline trajectories to ensure continued brand relevance and market dominance across unlimited future scenarios. Modern timeline control examples. Google, Larry Page/Sergey Brin, timeline control through information organization and access that programs future knowledge and advertising abundance trajectories. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta, timeline programming through social network and virtual reality development that controls future communication and interaction abundance. Reed Hastings, Netflix, timeline control through entertainment platform development that programs future content consumption and subscription abundance trajectories. Your timeline control achievement, systematic timeline programming. Develop systematic approaches for programming timeline trajectories that will generate inevitable abundance across unlimited future scenarios. Practice creating business and investment systems designed to control future abundance outcomes through proper timeline trajectory architecture. Build approaches for achieving market and ecosystem dominance that guarantees continued abundance generation across unlimited future variations. Future abundance guarantee development. Learn to create systematic approaches for guaranteeing future abundance through timeline control and probability matrix programming. Practice developing innovation and business approaches that control competitive timeline trajectories and maintain advantage indefinitely. Build systematic methods for programming cultural and market timeline trajectories to ensure continued abundance generation across unlimited future scenarios. Stage 5. Wealth profit integration, programming inevitable abundance across unlimited time. The final stage involves achieving complete wealth profit integration, developing the ability to program inevitable abundance across unlimited time periods through systematic timeline mastery and probability matrix control that guarantees prosperity regardless of future variations. Andrew Carnegie, the Wealth Profit Integration Master. Carnegie's systematic programming of inevitable abundance across unlimited future generations through industrial development, educational infrastructure, and institutional creation demonstrates ultimate wealth profit integration. Carnegie's Wealth Profit Integration System, Infinite Timeline Abundance Programming. Carnegie achieved systematic approaches for programming inevitable abundance across unlimited future time periods and generational changes. Cross-generational abundance architecture, creating industrial and institutional systems designed to generate increasing abundance across unlimited future generations without degradation or failure. Civilization timeline programming, building systematic approaches for programming civilization-level timeline trajectories that would generate universal abundance across unlimited future cultural and technological developments. Infinite scalability timeline design, developing abundance generation approaches that would scale and strengthen across unlimited future time periods and scenario variations. Universal probability matrix control. Carnegie developed systematic control over probability matrices that govern abundance outcomes across unlimited future timeline scenarios. Economic system timeline programming, creating systematic approaches for programming economic system timeline trajectories to favor universal abundance generation across unlimited future variations. Industrial development probability control, building industrial approaches that controlled probability matrices to ensure continued abundance generation across unlimited technological and market evolution scenarios. Educational timeline architecture, developing educational system approaches that would control knowledge and capability timeline trajectories to guarantee continued human advancement and abundance creation. Legacy abundance system integration. Carnegie achieved systematic integration of individual abundance mastery with universal abundance programming across unlimited future timelines. Systematic wealth transfer programming, creating approaches for transferring wealth in ways that would program continued abundance generation across unlimited future generations. Institutional timeline control, building institutional approaches that would control societal timeline trajectories and guarantee continued universal abundance and human advancement. Civilization evolution programming, developing systematic approaches for programming civilization evolution timeline trajectories toward universal abundance and human potential realization. The complete wealth profit formula. Based on studying temporal abundance programmers, Hill developed the complete formula for timeline mastery and inevitable abundance creation. Formula Component 1. Future timeline recognition mastery. Develop understanding of multiple future timeline possibilities and their potential for systematic abundance programming across unlimited time periods. Formula Component 2. Probability matrix access excellence. Achieve systematic access to probability matrices and timeline trajectories that govern abundance outcomes across unlimited future scenarios. Formula Component 3. Temporal programming mastery achievement. Master systematic approaches for creating future abundance architecture through timeline trajectory programming and probability matrix control. Formula Component 4. Timeline control mastery develops systematic ability to control and direct future timeline trajectories to guarantee prosperity outcomes across unlimited scenario variations. Formula Component 5. Wealth profit integration. Achieve complete integration of timeline mastery to program inevitable abundance across unlimited time periods through systematic probability control. The Decade Timeline Programming Protocol. Phase 1. Timeline Foundation Development, Years 1-3. Future Timeline Awareness. Complete understanding of multiple future timeline possibilities and their potential for abundance programming across unlimited time periods. Development of systematic approaches for identifying timeline trajectories that would generate optimal abundance across multiple scenario variations. Beginning, practice of designing current activities for increasing abundance across unlimited future timeline possibilities. Probability matrix recognition. Development of understanding how current decisions influence future probability matrices and timeline trajectory outcomes, beginning systematic analysis of probability patterns and timeline trajectories that govern abundance outcomes across different scenarios. Building foundation approaches for creating abundance systems designed to succeed across multiple timeline variations. Phase 2, systematic programming development, years 4 through 6. Timeline trajectory control. Development of systematic approaches for influencing and controlling timeline trajectories toward optimal abundance outcomes. Practice of creating business and investment systems designed to control future abundance generation across unlimited scenario possibilities. Building systematic methods for optimizing decisions across multiple timeline trajectories for maximum abundance outcomes. Probability matrix engineering. Development of systematic approaches for engineering probability matrices that favor inevitable abundance across unlimited future scenarios. Practice of creating innovation and competitive approaches that control probability outcomes across multiple timeline variations. Building systematic methods for creating probability advantages across unlimited future scenario possibilities. Phase 3, timeline control implementation, years 7 to 8. Future abundance architecture. Achievement of systematic approaches for programming future timeline architectures that generate inevitable abundance across unlimited scenario. Development of business and technology systems designed to control market and industry timeline trajectories for optimal outcomes. Building systematic approaches for creating ecosystem and platform dominance that guarantees continued abundance across unlimited future variations. Timeline dominance achievement. Development of systematic approaches for achieving dominance over timeline trajectories in chosen markets or industries. Achievement of systematic control over competitive and market timeline trajectories that guarantee continued abundance generation. Building approaches for programming cultural and societal timeline trajectories that support continued abundance and market leadership. Phase 4, wealth profit integration, years 9, 10 plus. Infinite timeline programming. Achievement of systematic approaches for programming inevitable abundance across unlimited future time periods and generational changes. Development of systems designed to generate increasing abundance across unlimited future scenarios without degradation or failure. Building systematic approaches for programming civilization-level timeline trajectories that generate universal abundance. Universal abundance programming. Creation of systematic approaches for programming universal abundance across unlimited future timeline scenarios through probability control. Achievement of systematic integration of individual abundance mastery with universal abundance programming across unlimited timelines. Development of legacy abundance systems that continue programming prosperity across unlimited future generations and civilization evolution. The laws of temporal abundance programming. Law 1. The law of timeline multiplicity. Multiple future timeline possibilities exist as probability matrices that can be systematically programmed and controlled for optimal abundance outcomes. Law 2. The law of probability control. Systematic control over probability matrices enables programming of inevitable abundance outcomes across unlimited future scenario variations. Law 3. The law of temporal architecture. Future abundance can be systematically designed and programmed through proper timeline trajectory architecture and probability matrix engineering. Law 4. The law of timeline dominance. Systematic control over timeline trajectories guarantees prosperity outcomes across unlimited future scenario variations and competitive environments. Law 5. The law of inevitable abundance. Proper timeline programming and probability control creates inevitable abundance across unlimited time periods through systematic temporal mastery. Your wealth profit revolution. And now we come to the ultimate expression of abundance mastery across time itself. You've discovered not just how to transmute energy or elevate consciousness, but how to become a wealth prophet who programs future timelines to guarantee inevitable prosperity across unlimited time periods and scenario variations. This isn't about building current wealth or even creating sustainable systems. This is about transcending temporal limitations to program future abundance directly, controlling timeline trajectories and probability matrices to make prosperity inevitable, regardless of changing circumstances. Most people will hear about future planning and think about business forecasting or investment strategy. Some will try to predict future trends while still operating within linear time constraints. A few will achieve true wealth profit mastery and discover that future abundance can be programmed systematically through timeline control. Which group will you join? Remember, Disney programmed multi-generational abundance through entertainment systems designed for unlimited future success. Dalio controlled probability matrices across unlimited economic scenarios for guaranteed investment outcomes. Musk engineered future timeline trajectories through technology development that makes abundance inevitable. Jobs achieved timeline control through ecosystem programming that guaranteed continued market dominance. Carnegie integrated timeline mastery to program inevitable abundance across unlimited future generations. You have access to the same temporal abundance principles. You have the same potential for timeline programming mastery. You have the same opportunity to control future probability matrices for inevitable prosperity. The timeline programming activation. This is your moment of temporal mastery choice. Not to build wealth within current time constraints, but to become a wealth prophet who programs future abundance. Not to predict outcomes, but to control timeline trajectories. The wealth prophet revolution isn't coming. It's you, developing systematic mastery over timeline programming that guarantees inevitable abundance across unlimited future scenarios and time periods. Like this video if you're ready to become a wealth prophet who programs future timelines for inevitable abundance. Subscribe to this channel if you want continued training in temporal abundance mastery. Comment below and declare, I program future timelines. I control probability matrices. I create inevitable abundance. Share this message with someone ready to transcend temporal limitations and program future prosperity. When you share wealth profit principles, you accelerate abundance evolution for everyone. Remember, every moment you plan only for current reality is a moment you delay timeline programming mastery. Every moment you develop temporal control is a moment you access inevitable abundance. The future timelines are waiting to be programmed. The probability matrices are ready to be controlled. The inevitable abundance is ready to be created. Program the timelines, control the probabilities, create the inevitable. Your wealth profit revolution begins with your next timeline programming decision.